Welcome to the 46th edition of Stump the Pastor. Our question today comes from Adam in Maryland. Adam actually has several kind of related questions, so I'm going to combine them into one edition. He asks, if humankind is made in the image and likeness of God, does that mean God has a belly button? Why? And is God's belly button where the Big Bang came from? I can always count on Adam to take me where no preacher has ever gone before. You remember that last week we had a creation story question, and I told you I had received others. So this week's edition is part of that group. I sometimes wonder if the creation stories are on our minds so often because all of us have this curiosity about how we got here. I don't think, though, I've ever been asked about God's belly button, so thank you, Adam, for this first. Show of hands. How many of you never, ever thought to ask about God's belly button? If your hand's not raised, you're not telling the truth. The rest of you are just too shy to admit you never had much curiosity about belly buttons. And belly buttons are a physical mark on our body that reminds us that we were at one time connected to another human being physically. At one time in our lives, we survived only because we had this particular physical connection to another human being. Nobody comes into the world without a belly button. You may be an innie or an outie, but every human being has one. It is a physical reminder that we were given life by somebody else. We were sustained in our most vulnerable time of our existence by the nourishment, nurture, and protection of another human being. Let me tell you, that will preach. The importance of that connection can't be diminished. The physical umbilical cord is an important spiritual metaphor for our connection to God. And once again, this is where language fails to communicate accurately the spiritual realities it is trying to describe. If God is the spiritual graciousness that creates life and awareness, then it would be more spiritually accurate, at least in my thought process, to talk about the cosmic womb rather than the spiritual belly button. See, so many of the metaphors we use for God have feminine characteristics, no matter how the patriarchal forces of religion scream in protest. Christianity, in all its myriad manifestations, is at its best when it incorporates many metaphors to speak of God. So if it helps you to think of God with the belly button that spews creation into being, then that's an idea worth exploring. If it helps communicate the grace and presence of God to our world, I'm all for it. I can picture some great stained glass cathedral with a human-shaped image coming out of the beautiful stained images that show a belly button as a rainbow force onto the cosmic span. Let me tell you, if you ever visit old cathedrals with lots of stained glass, you will find much more fascinating depictions of God than that one. But this could be the Christian version of the Big Bang Theory. Thanks, Adam, for such a question. If nothing else, it has made all of us ponder our own belly buttons as something more than simply a source of accumulated lint. Maybe like all the ways our bodies mirror the grace of God's goodness, it is just another reminder that we are wonderfully and graciously made from the love of God's creation. When we think about being part of the image of God, we can push back a bit further the limits we seem prone to create and ponder how new images of God's grace toward creation might become sources of new insight for us. I can't wait to see where the belly button theory takes us next. See you next time on Stump the Pastor. Well, thanks, Adam, for the great belly button debate opening salvo. Maybe you have a question, too, that you would like to hotly contest. Send it to me. My email address is on the bottom of your screen. See you next time on Stump the Pastor.